Hello, everyone. Welcome back to episode 5 of the Right Angle Podcast. I'm Ewan Petty,
And I'm Timothy Carzols.
and today we have a few topics to talk about. We will be starting off with the federal government, followed by President Trump, and eventually Abigail Spanberger selling merchandise with Jay Jones's name on it. So we hope you enjoy, and let's get right into it.
I want to be remembered for courage for my faith. That would be the most important thing is my faith.
So we'll be starting off with this talking about the federal government and things to do with it. So recently, President Trump authorized the CIA to conduct covert operations inside Venezuela, which is already an escalation of the war on Venezuelan drugs, which so far has resulted in 27 drug traffickers being killed as a result of drones and missile equipped aircraft destroying Venezuelan drug boats. What are your thoughts on that, Demi?
Specifically on using missiles to remove of these Venezuelan drug loads, I think that it's a very smart idea. I mean, we have to get rid of these somehow. And obviously, the Coastal Guard is not stopping them in time, and we're letting them get through because we're having a huge drug problem in America. It's not unknown that in California we have so many cannabis dispensaries that doctors will just give out to basically anyone who asks. And that not only starts the path to someone being addicted to drugs, but it also opens the doors to fentanyl. It opens the doors to any powerful drugs out there. And there are people willing to give it. And it's honestly just a sign of where America's going, what we're allowing, and how we're allowing it. We need to crank down on this somehow, and this definitely shows not only the people that are transporting it to America how serious we are about this problem, but it shows the whole America side of we should not be doing this because of what's getting brought into America. It's not just weed that's, being spread in America. It's other drugs that are actually affecting the whole US. And I think that's a bigger problem.
That is very true. So I guess we'll have to stay tuned regarding that and see if we hear about any covert operations or airstrikes inside Venezuela, but I guess we will see. Next, we'll be moving on to the state of California. Recently, it was announced that California would be losing $40 million in funding from the Department of Transportation as the state is refusing to follow an executive order signed by President Trump, which is requiring commercial truck drivers to know English, which is very interesting. But what are your thoughts on that?
It's kind of coincidental that we're letting people like this slide when we have such a hard time working in our own communities, helping people get driver's license, and it's extremely hard right now for some people to get licenses, but we'll hand it out to any illegal immigrant who asks for it kindly. And I think it's kind of backwards. We've definitely let things slide in places that it shouldn't have slid in. We've given health care to them. We've given them a place to stay. We've given so much to illegal aliens, and it's a wonder of why and how are we funding this? We are at a point where we're looking at this and saying that it's a right. We're saying that this is fine, but our own people in America are struggling to survive. There's homeless rates spiking up, and we see illegal aliens coming to our country, having the time of their lives, doing whatever they want, getting paid for it, and having them run all over us. And it's a testament to where our country's going. And I think that Trump has done an amazing job in cracking down on this. He's done everything he can, and he's still working to do more. I think that's a testament to where the Democrats stand, to where the Republicans stand, and I think it just shows Democrats are willing to sell off our country. They're willing to do what they want, and the Republicans are willing to do what they need to do to help our country. And I think that's all that needs to be said is we have to deal with this problem.
Interestingly enough, as a sort of a side note, in New York recently, um, an illegal commercial truck driver was recently pulled over, and can you guess what the name on his commercial license was? It wasn't Juan or something like that. It was no name given. Like, what sense does that make? But then again, who knows?
I mean, definitely. I mean, as I said before, we're giving out driver's license to whoever asks for it. I mean, how loose can we be as a country to let that happen? I mean, it doesn't matter where we're at in the world you are, whether you're in New York, whether you're in California, whether you're in the middle states. We're letting things slide that shouldn't be slidden. Driver's licenses are arguably one of the most important things. I mean, drunk driving kills so many people. We have drunk driving, but then we also just have reckless driving. We have people listening to music, blasting music, getting in collisions that are fatal. Basically, some of these crashes end families. some of these crashes are the reason that people are scared to drive at night. And it's a wonder why we allow this to happen when we hear about so many incidents of drunk driving, and now add someone that's already afraid of cops finding them and someone who's already afraid of, problems happening. Now you just have someone drunk on the road who's scared of all these problems, but they're not worried. I mean, I just the other day I saw someone swerving to not hit me, but they were just swerving on the road as if they were drunk, and it's scary sometimes when you're out there driving. You can't expect everything from a driver, especially when they're drunk, and it's scary. It is honestly scary out there.
It's not just like they're driving like your regular old Prius. No, they're driving freight across the U.S., and those are big trucks and big trailers, which makes things even more dangerous. But I guess we'll have to see how this funding fight goes. Next, we'll be moving on to the topic of the Pentagon diverting $6.5 billion in order to pay our troops. While the Schumer shutdown is in existence, but at the same time, 32,000 full-time Reserve and National Guard troops remain furloughed. Like, that's crazy, but what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's important to note that it's not just Schumer in this situation, but all Democrats take accountability for this, whether they voted for or against. I think that Democrats as a whole should hold their head low for what they're doing here. The government is being held hostage by them, and every single one of them should feel ashamed not only to be a part of that party, but to even be known as someone who's holding the government hostage. This is not something that should be going on. This is something that should have been done quickly, should have been resolved. And obviously there's specific situations where times it can't be resolved swiftly because there's so many terms in this. But this is as simple as it gets. Republicans are trying to give them what they need to accept this. They're trying to basically feed it to them on a silver platter and saying, here you go, we'll compromise and we'll do as much as we can for you, while not helping ourselves, but without doing too much. They're trying to do the bare minimum of not expanding the spending. And I think that's the biggest sign of Democrats are not even worrying about us right now. They're worrying about their own funding. They're worrying about their own money. They're worried about their pockets, not the whole U.S. as a whole. And I mean, it's a bigger problem than just Democrats and Republicans. It goes down to us.
Not just 32,000 full-time Reserve and National Guard troops have been furloughed by the government. At least 44,108 workers have been permanently laid off, while over 700,000 government employees remain furloughed. Though the permanent firing of government workers was recently blocked by a Biden-appointed federal judge based out of San Francisco named Susan Illiston.
Judges can have many reasons for things. We saw last time that a judge allowed Jay Jones to do 500 hours of community service for his own business, and I think every judge has a different mindset on things. I believe and hope that this judge thought in the moment that this was the right decision, because if not, then it makes you question if the judge was impartial and was actually fair in the situation. I mean, imagine having a judge that's already against you from the beginning or for you from the beginning. I mean, I'd rather have a fair judge and know that I'm going to be treated with all rightness and be judged correctly than know that our country is going to go down a path of a judge voting in favor of one way of their beliefs. I mean, it's known that a judge should not favor something and have the right mindset in these situations. So it makes you question, did the judge have the right mindset? Were they thinking about all the factors of this? And not to question the judge, but they made this choice and now they hold this.
That's very true. Now we will be moving on to the subject of President Trump, who's been in the news recently. Recently, he helped broker a peace deal between Hamas and the Israeli government, which, as the deal is agreed to, will be in 3 stages of 42 days each. The first phase includes the exchanging of hostages and prisoners. So Israel will receive all of the remaining living hostages, which is 22 living hostages that have been released back to Israel, and 28 deceased hostages will be released, but only 7 have been released so far out of the deceased ones. In exchange, Hamas will receive 250 Palestinian prisoners who have been serving life sentences inside Israel, along with 1,700 captured Palestinians who have been captured in Gaza by the Israeli Defense Force during the current Gaza and Israel, Hamas and Israel, conflict. But we'll see if this peace still lasts, as already as there have been some wrinkles, such as a fake hostage being returned to Israel, a fake deceased hostage being sent to Israel. And as a result, Israel has decided to decrease the number of daily aid trucks allowed into Gaza by half, which means instead of 600 aid trucks entering Gaza, 300 are only allowed to enter. So we will see if this peace deal holds, as there are already wrinkles. Next, we will be moving on to the subject of Abigail Spanberger selling J. Jones merchandise, or merchandise with J. Jones' name on it. If a brief recap to everyone, Abigail Spanberger is the Democrat candidate for Virginia governor who is running to flip the seat, which is currently held by Republican Glenn Youngkin. It seems like political suicide to me, selling merchandise with your name and J. Jones's merchandise on it, who is running for Virginia Attorney General, as he's notably under backlash for comments made in 2022 that were recently leaked, saying that he'd rather kill Todd Gilbert, who is the former State House Speaker of Virginia, and his kids, rather than Hitler, who killed who knows how many people, and Pol Pot, the former Cambodian dictator, who killed who knows how many more people. But what did Todd Gilbert and his family do to you? Which is crazy. And still selling merchandise with J. Jones's name on it seems like political malpractice or suicide, however you want to call it.
The number of Hitler and Pol Pot's kill counts was around 20 million total. And it really just puts in perspective how much hatred this man had in his heart to even believe that this statement was politically correct, mentally correct, or even sane. The number of 20 million is an insane amount of deaths and an insane amount of lives to even be taken, and this can only be brought down to one thing, and that's political hatred and violence. We've come to a point multiple times where political violence is the answer instead of talking things out, instead of working things out, instead of, being respectable human beings. The comment that was made is despicable, and it shows an important amount of hatred, not only from the Democrat side, but this man himself. He decided that these words were heavily and worth it. He thought that these words, these weighted words from a man who supposedly knows his stuff, were valid and worthy to say. I think not only as a man having respect for someone else's family, but having respect for yourself. That is absolutely mortifying that a man would say that someone else's life is worth less than another, and especially someone who's taken so many lives. Two people who took so many lives. It's horrifying that political violence has gone so strong and political hatred has gotten so strong that you would even account for someone's life being less than someone else's. And it really just testaments to political violence. We've gone to a point where political violence is normal. And where does it stop? It stops when we stop saying comments like this. It stops when we stop thinking of violence as normal. And I hope that J. Jones realizes that. I mean, we can't let J. Jones run. I mean, in all honesty, we were thinking about it, and we weren't going to take a specific stand, but I will. It's mortifying that you would even make a comment like that and expect yourself to be able to run. That is just insane for Democrats. It is insane to believe that that's a position that you should take. As for Democrats, I think you should definitely question whether this man's capable and this woman is capable for even allowing those comments to be shadowing their whole running. It's evil and it's horrible.
That is very true. So this race will be one of many races and issues to keep an eye on during the upcoming elections in November. But overall, we had covered a few different topics, and that is what we have for you guys today. Definitely a lot to keep an eye on, but I guess we'll see. Did you maybe have any closing thoughts, Timmy, on all of our topics?
I think that we are in a need for a call of peace, hope, and strength in our country. This goes further than just outside war, outside hatred. This is hatred within our country, hatred within ourselves, and I can hope that everyone feels a sense of pride for our country and we realize that this is not the normal. This is not what should be happening in America. And so I call everyone to please put your heads down and realize that what we're doing isn't right, where we're going isn't right, and we need peace. That is all I have to say.
That is definitely true. Everyone needs to pray for our country and this world in general. Definitely a lot of interesting stuff that's already happened and will continue to happen regarding the government, President Trump, Abigail Spanberger, and elections, Israel. There's so much to talk about and so much to keep our eyes open and ears hearing for. That is what we have for you guys today. Thank you very much, and we will see you guys next time.